A very good evening. This is Morgan, Assistant Professor, Department of Agriculture Engineering. Today we're going to discuss about effective rainfall and what are all the parameters for calculating the effective rainfall and whatever the efficiencies of effective rainfall that are going to be discussed in this session. So the water can be supplied to the crops by rainfall, that we can say it's called as a precipitation, by either by irrigation or the combinations of precipitations and irrigation. If the rainfall is sufficient to cover the requirement of the crop, so irrigation is not required. In case if the demand is not meeting out the requirement, so we want to go by irrigation, or if we want, or we will go with the rainfall irrigations. If there is no rainfall, the crops must be supplied by irrigation or any other methods. If there is some rainfall and it is not enough to cover the requirement of crops, so irrigation water has to supplement the rainwater to increasing the crop yield and to meeting out the requirement of the irrigation. So this often is called as supplemental irrigation. The irrigation water that supplements or adds in addition to the rainwater. Uh, in other words, we can say the part of rainfall is not an effective. Only the very minimum amount of water is stored in the root zone, and it can be used by the soil as well as the plant. This remaining part that we can say is called as an effective rainfall. So for that, the supplemental irrigations can be added to meeting out the requirement of the crops water ratio. The factor which influence which part is effective and which part is not ineffective include the climate, soil texture, soil structure, and the depth of root zone. So let we can see here the effective rainfall. So see, there is the two different crops are there. So here the precipitations will occur. So through this precipitation, the water can be percolated into the soil through the pores available in the soil. So there is a root portion. So the water can enter into the soil through the pores. The root can absorb the maximum amount of water available in the soil level, and the remaining water can be percolated into the soil through deeper. So the remaining water can be flow away. That is, we can say the part is called as runoff. So the amount of water can be entered into the soil, that we can say is called as percolation. The remaining water can be flow off. It's called as runoff. So what are the major factors it may affecting the effective rainfall? The first one is the rainfall characteristic. One is about how much amount of rainfall is recorded, what is the intensity, how much time the rainfall is recorded. These are the major factor through which the effective rainfall is getting affected. The first one is about the rainfall characteristics. The greater the amount of rainfall or the intensity of rainfall normally reduce the effective fraction of rainfall, as well as through which the amount of rainfall is increasing, the runoff will be increased. A well distributed rainfall, infrequent, light shower increases the effective rainfall, and through which the crop growth it will be increased. Next, the major parameter that may affect the effective rainfall is about land slope. If the gradient of the particular area is too steep or it may be less steep, so the runoff will be more. If it is a plain ground, probably the water get into the soil through which the percolation will improve. We can able to overcome from the runoff. Characteristics of soil, if the soil is loosely packed or it may be densely packed, depend upon the amount of pores available in the soil, that may enhance the value of infiltration as well as hydraulic conductivity, through which the pores or through which the soil characteristics it may affect the infiltration, through which it can able to reduce the runoff. Higher the moisture content, lesser the infiltration rate, and higher the surface runoff, which reduce the effective rainfall. Next is management practices. What type of crop that should be cultivated or it may be practiced. It may increasing the effective rainfall. For example, bunding, terracing, contour tillage, ridging, mulching. It may reduce runoff and increase effective rainfall. Crop characteristics depend upon the type of crop. based on its rooting depth, stage of growth. Deep rooted crop normally increases the proportionate of effective rainfall in a given area. Carry over soil moisture. It is the moisture stored in crop root zone between cropping seasons or before the crop is planted. The moisture is important in rainfed farming in water scarcity area. I think the groundwater contribution it's also been adversely affected about the effective rainfall. The soil moisture contributions from the groundwater table is determined by the runoff groundwater below the root zone and the capillarity and conducive porosities of soil. And how you're measuring that effective rainfall. The precise measurements are often made by a weighing type lysimeter. It's in a transparent container through which soil is filled. Whenever there is a rainfall is recorded in the particular places through which how much amount of rainfall is recorded, how much is percolated, through which we can able to measure that whether this particular rainfall is effective or intensity is high, through which we can able to predict it. Next is a part of about an irrigation efficiency. It has been the term called EI. It is usually expressed by in terms of percentage. It's nothing but how much percentage of that water can be utilized by the crop or plant depends upon the total volume of water which we conveyed through channels. So here we're going to calculate the overall efficiency of the irrigation, the percentage of water supplied to the farm. It's used by the irrigations. EI is equal to 100 into S minus P minus R minus O by S. This is nothing but amount of water supplied to the farm. P is percolation depth, R is the runoff, O is operational losses, that is the loss in the pipeline or channels, through which we can able to calculate the percentage of water that can be supplied to the farm through which the total inlet. This is about the reservoir efficiency. It is indicated by the symbol ER, 100 into 1 minus VE plus VS by VI. So here V is evaporational volume of the reservoir, seepage volume of the reservoir, inflow, outflow. Based on that, we can able to calculate the percentage of water that should be stored in the reservoir, even in the winter occasions or even in the summer occasions. Next is about the conveyance efficiency. For example, if you are delivering 100 liters of water, but while you're reaching the corresponding plots, it may about 80 or it may be 70. The remaining 30 or 20 liters of water, it can be lost due to this conveyance, through which it may be channels or pipelines. Is especially water conveyance associated with the canal network, water courses and field channels. It is represented by the symbol EC. WF by WD into 100. WF is water delivered into the corresponding plot where the crop is planted. D is delivered from the reservoir or it may be from the channel through which the water it may be lost either by the channel it gets damaged or even the pipeline is getting damaged or even the place is getting very dry, so the water can be percolated into the soil to which they get recharged so that the efficiency will be less. Then application efficiency, here water applied on the land to the total water delivered. So application efficiency, so how much amount of water stored in the root zone, water delivered in the field. So for each and every crop, it may able to observe very certain amount of water can be stored in the root zone through stems and leaves. So maximum water can be stored in root zone. The remaining water can be settled at the respective soils available in the plots. This is about storage efficiency. ES is equal to WS by W1 into 100. Storage efficiency stored in root zone divided by water needed in root zone prior to the irrigation. So each and every crop is required to survey how much amount or percentage of water or liters of water is required, so that we have to calculate earlier before go for the irrigation. Then how much water stored. Based on this ratio, you may get the water storage efficiency. This distribution efficiency, because the water can be taken from the reservoir or taken from the well and through which it can be distributed in different plots. While you distributing the water to different plot, the water can be getting lost, so through which we can able to calculate the water distribution efficiency. ED 1 minus Y bar D by 100. So here ED, water distribution, Y bar, average depth of water stored during the irrigation. This is about deviations. Next is about the rooting characteristics. Here the soil texture impacts the amount of stored soil moisture, the plant's rooting characteristics, how much soil moisture can be accessed by a plant. A deep rooted crop can access greater amount of soil moisture than shallow rooted crop. Usually the root can get into too longer into the soil through which the water can be uh, observed, through which that let can see the potato, the maximum depth of crop is about 2 feet. For sugar beet it is about 4 feet, and edible bean is about 3. Wheat and barley it's about 4, 3 to 4 feet. Field corn it's about 4 feet, and alfaria it's about 5 feet. So through which alfaria till this 5 feet, when there is a huge rainfall is recorded in such a places, till the 5 feet the water can be percolated or penetrated. The root can be able to take up all the water available below the soil level till 5 feet. Another is about plant factors and effective root depth, and the major amount of plant influencing on effective root depth. Here, the potential rooting depth is the maximum rooting depth where grown in moist soil with no barrier or restriction that inhibit root elongation. If based on the soil condition, based on the availability of moisture, the root can be elongated till to the maximum portion. For example, the potential rooting depth of the corn is about 4 feet and alpharia is about 5 feet. It's basically about the water, how much it has been taken up, as well as how much the soil denser. So based on that, the effective root depth will be increased. So this is the example of about how much plant influence of effective root depth. Here water actions by root systems in moist soil as a function of root depth. See the depth is 40%, 30, 20 and 10. So first 40% depth, it is about to take maximum amount of water as an intake. Next 30, next 20, and the bottom is about to take only very minimum percentage of water that will be taken as an extraction process. So this is all about the effective rainfall and effective root depth. The remaining things that we will discuss on the next session. Thank you.